Boys, what's good? This is the Week 5 review coming in late. I'm sorry, this is going to be on Friday, but work had to do an overnight this week. It kind of just threw off my entire schedule, so it's coming late. And the rankings for this week do not include last week's or yesterday's game, which means Russell Wilson does not look as bad as he already does now. So that's the one thing where Austin gained a point there, but may lose a point this coming week depending if he changes anything. But anyways, so as we do, going through the week, I added a little wrinkle to the every single to our little rankings here. I added a little wrinkle. You see if there's more stuff on it. It's because I added a little something to kind of accommodate points wise. We'll get to it when we get to it. So first, we got the one of the blowouts of the week because this week was full of some blowouts. We got I Like It Raw. We got Camden versus Joe. Huge blowout. Huge win. Huge win for him. He got off the 0-3 like I did this week. But Jared Goff had 45. Jared Goff is now proving to be a more than viable fantasy quarterback. That Lions offense is real. That Lions offense is good. So I can't just look at it and be like, it's Jared Goff. At some point, you gotta actually say what's going on this year. How's this year going? Jared Goff there. Jonathan Taylor is out. He got injured. That's fine because Camden still has arguably the best running back core in football with that Jonathan Taylor injury, and I didn't really hurt him points-wise with that Jonathan Taylor injury because it's only going to be a week. Derrick Henry is looking like he's getting back to form. Obviously, he was going to get back to form. Ira traded him, so in turn, that means he's got to actually play well. Deebo Samuel showing how electric he is with the ball in his hands. Jerry Jeudy last week, solid week. Darren Waller did not play well against Denver at all, but that was a weird game. They ran the ball way more, which is what they're probably going to be doing moving forward. So Josh Jacobs is looking like a better option. Aaron Jones did exactly what he was projected to do. The 49ers played a Rams team that looks like the Detroit Lions team of 2012-13, which is Cooper Kupp is Megatron. Not that they compare as players, but in the sense of Matt Stafford just chucks it to Cooper Kupp, or Cooper Kupp gets the ball a bunch. Tyler Higbee got 14 targets last week too, but they have no line, they have no run game, and the 49ers took advantage of that. And then Graham Gano had another solid week because if it's not Barkley, they're not scoring touchdowns really. Unless Daniel Jones is running for 2. Sure. And now he has Jamal Williams with DeAndre Swift out is showing that he can run all over teams. You've got Melvin Gordon now as the starter there with Boone too to see how that's going to go. Amon-Ra was even on his bench last week. So Camden's team's just looking absolutely scary. Joe's team didn't perform like they should have this week, but Joe's team's still as good as ever. I mean, Cordero Patterson's out, so that's going to hurt a little bit. But when you still have J.K. Dobbins, who played a big game, you got Miles Sanders, who played a huge game, you've got Devin Singletary, who's been a solid player this year. You've got David Montgomery or Khalil Herbert, whoever's starting. They seem to be putting up points. Cooper Kupp's the best fantasy wide receiver in the league. You've got A.J. Brown, who's also top 10. You got CeeDee Lamb, who's top 15. So, in every spot, there's not really a weakness. And Tyler Higbee at tight end is just progressing and showing every single week why he's viable for sure. If you don't have a Travis Kelsey or a Mark Andrews, those are the only two this year because Waller and Pitts, as we thought they were going to be great, they haven't been. So if you have those top two, then that's all you really, other than that, you just need a guy who's going to get you 7 to 10 a week, and that's what Tyler Higbee's been doing. And you got the Broncos defense and Brandon McManus, which have been good. The Broncos defense has been very good. McManus has been average. But that was last week's game. Camden blew the doors off of him. Ira blew the doors off of the born-again virgins, Jared. Jared's team looked like my team a couple weeks ago. I don't know what happened. Dalvin Cook played okay. Josh Allen played pretty well. Josh Allen did what he was expected. Well, not exactly because he was playing the Ravens. People thought he'd do a little more. But James Robinson, nothing. Stephon Diggs, McLaurin, nothing. Kittle, nothing. Curtis Samuel, nothing. Rams, literally 0. Nick Folk, 6. So, like, he had Rashad Penny on the bench, but that wasn't going to make any difference in anything. His team's fine, though, moving forward. Like, who expects Diggs to only get 6 points a week, James Robinson to only get 2.9? If they were playing a great Philly team, that Philly team's looking like one of the best, if not the best team in football right now. And then you got Ira, who had Joey B, who's come back to be Joey B, what we expected. Week 1, even in Week 1, he still put up numbers, fantasy numbers. It's just since Week 1, 6 touchdowns, no picks. They've been 2-1, obviously the Cowboys beat them. Then you got Nick Chubb, who is the most consistent and the best fantasy running back right now. Antonio Gibson, who with Brian Robinson coming back soon, we're going to see how his role changes. But you still have Breece Hall, who is showing to be definitely a running back 2 to flex option every week. And then you've also got Jeff Wilson, who is a running back 2 until Elijah Mitchell comes back, because Jeff Wilson's been running very well. You got T. Higgins and Mike Williams. You got T. Higgins, you got a top line wide receiver 2. And Mike Williams, you've got a pretty top line wide receiver 2. I literally just have a problem because he's so boom or bust. But at the end of the year, he will always be there stats wise, because his games. And Kyle Pitts has been a letdown. He's been one of the biggest letdowns this year. But you never know, they could pick it up. And it's just weird because with Marcus Mariota, they really don't throw. It seems like they don't throw all that much in the middle. Like, Drake London's been having a pretty good year, but like. Anyways, the Colts defense has been okay. And then the Colts defense has been okay. They played last week, but he has the Bucs defense. And even with the Bucs getting -1, they're still number 4 in fantasy. So he's got one of the best fantasy defenses and one of the best defenses. And then Matt Gay's been solid. Then we go to the game of the week. It was probably the game of the week, even though me and Justin might have been game of the week. You got Joey versus Austin in a 154-144 huge game. As I said, Wilson last week had a great week. Fournette did what you expected. Josh Jacobs blew up. Justin Jefferson had a great week. Devontae Adams did exactly what he was projected. Gerald Everett got a touchdown, so he had a very good week. A.J. Dillon was consistent with 8. The Packers' defense was solid with 8, and Tyler Bass had 11. He played all the right players. He played everything right. That was a perfect lineup for Austin. He just ran into T.J. Hawkinson, who had the best one. Probably they might go down as the best tight end game of the entire year. Kelsey might get something. Andrews might get something. Kittle, we've seen Kittle go off for over 200, so like he could do something. We never know. But Mahomes played a great game. Connor was okay. Eckler was outstanding. Marquise Brown has been very consistent. Amari Cooper did nothing. Damian Harris, 14.4, and then the Cowboys defense, and Daniel Carlson was great. Hold on. Danny, did it get warmer? No? No. Okay. That's what I thought. I thought that pause was a no. All right, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay. But not really.
It's going to have to do. Bathwater cold. Anyways, Philly put up 17, and then DK Metcalf had a big game. Metcalf has been playing well over the last 2. So, and he has Philly with Michael Thomas. So that wide receiving core is looking pretty solid. We're going to see how Metcalf goes forward. We're going to see how Michael Thomas is going forward. But that team's looking pretty promising. Jones 3-1. That team's looking good. Got Tyler versus Timmy. That was about a 40-point game. A lot of blowouts this week. We got 3 blowouts. Got one razor-sharp game, razor-thin game, and then you got one pretty close game. You got Herbert had a very good game. You got McCaffrey had a good game, exactly what you expected. Zeke was a little under, but he still played well. Tyreek Hill's been great all season. Cortland Sutton's been a great wide receiver 2 all season. Goddard's been consistent. Dameon Pierce, big run, but he's still been, fantasy-wise, last few weeks, he has been putting up points. So, and then you got the Saint defense and Cade York just waiting for Harrison Butker to come back, and once he does, he'll have one of the best kickers in football. On the other side, Timmy's team just didn't perform. You got Jalen Hurts, who played under what you can expect. You had Saquon do exactly what Saquon's been doing. He's been arguably the best running back behind Nick Chubb. You got Najee, who's been kind of a disappointment this year, but he's been a consistent running back 2 to flex option. He's been around like 8 to 10 points a week. Michael Pittman had a bad week. Christian Kirk wasn't what he has been all year. Mark Andrews played terrible. He just didn't play well at all. Javonte got injured. The Giants played a very good week, and Young Hoku played a very good week. Going forward, I have no worries about Andrews. Christian Kirk has seemed like in that offense that he's been a focal point, so I don't have too many problems with him. Michael Pittman, obviously had this game too. Michael Pittman, that Colts offense is just a mess. Najee, maybe with Pickett, can get a little bit more going. I don't know. We'll see. Saquon's been great. So we'll see how that is moving forward. Definitely see how that is moving forward. And then we got the game of the week, arguably. This game came down to literally Tom Brady throwing a ball to Mike Evans lateraling the ball, and then the next play, Tom completing a pass, which pulled out my first win. And it doesn't matter how you get it, you got it. Tom had a great game. Tom looked like Tom. Joe Mixon got a touchdown. Joe Mixon played solid. Ramondre Stevenson did exactly what he needed to do. Brandon Cooks got himself a touchdown. Gabe Davis, another no-show, but he may get into that Mike Williams with not the highest upside. So he's been a little underwhelming this year since week 1. Travis Kelsey. He's the best tight end in football. One of the best tight ends ever, so what's what you expect. And he's on the back end of his prime. So probably he's still in his prime, but towards the back end of it. I had to pick up a wide receiver because of the fact that Keenan Allen was out, and I didn't have time to put in Garrett Wilson, so I just picked up Robbie Anderson. The 2.6 he put up was huge. The Chargers did exactly what you expect, and Justin Tucker's the best kicker of all time, so yeah. And then you got Kyler, who played very well. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who is showing to be a very, very good fantasy back this year. He's one of the picks of the year. Him, Saquon right now would probably be off the top of my head. I'm probably forgetting someone pick of the year. Then you got Tony Pollard, who didn't play up to snuff at all, but going forward, I think that will change. Jamar, who didn't do exactly what you needed him to do, but played an okay game. Had that big catch at the end that helped him. I think 4 catches, 81 yards. Waddle, it seems like it's either Hill or Waddle every week who has the big week, but the thing is that Waddle's floor is lower than Hill's floor, which is why Hill's a better fantasy guy, but they both have that potential to go get you 30, 40. Njoku had a better game than the 4.7. He just had a fumble, I believe, so that took him down, but 5 catches, I think 74 yards. He had a 1 run, -6, and a fumble, so that kind of took that week out. Mike Evans played amazing. I think Mike Evans this week is going to play amazing as well. He's been one of the most consistent receivers in fantasy. The Steelers' defense has been all right, but that was more just a fill-in because he has the Bills and he was playing Baltimore. Bills' defense has been the best defense in football pretty much this year. And then you've got Evan McPherson, who's one of the best kickers. So throughout all of it, he's got a very, very solid, good team. That was the rundown of the week. We got big matchups this week, and I'll get to that after these rankings. So, going through, let's go back. I'm going to go down the ledger. I got Austin's QB situation at an 89. He's got Russell Wilson. He's got Kirk Cousins. It's been But Russell Wilson had a big week, so you thought going forward maybe that he could start to string something together. As we saw, he didn't. But again, this is off of last week. This does not include this game at all, because then there wouldn't be week 5. It wouldn't be week 4. It would be week 5. I think in the beginning I said week 5, but I'm dumb. It's week 4. I'm drunk. Anyways, 89, and then his running back core is a 91. You've got Leonard Fournette, who's been pretty consistent. You've got Josh Jacobs, who obviously blew up, and I think he can be consistent. You got A.J. Dillon, who's been a consistent flex option. So between those three, I think you got about a 91. 96, you got Justin Jefferson, you got Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams has been consistent pretty much all year long around there. He hasn't blown up like you expected, but he has been pretty consistent. Justin Jefferson had a little lull, but I think he'll get back to being what we expected as probably top 2 in fantasy wide receivers this year. So his wide receiving core is still good, very good. Got Deontay Johnson on the bench too. That's also been probably going to be looking better with Kenny Pickett. And then you got Drake London, who, other than last game, has played well all season. Romeo Doubs has been interesting too. Rodgers seems to be going toward him a little more and more. Tight end 89, Gerald Everett, Dalton Schultz. Gerald Everett's been, I think, number 4 in fantasy tight ends this year. Him and Herbert have been getting connected. That's because he is a very athletic, but he's also in like the slot-ish area. He's in the middle of the field. He's easy to throw to. Then the Packers defense, and Tyler Bass makes an 88, so he's at a 90.6. 92 quarterback, Tom Brady's looking back to what he is. He hasn't had his offense. So without his offense, you haven't been able to really see the full effect of Tom. So moving forward, with him actually having Mike Evans, with him having Chris Godwin, Russell Gage, with Julio, if he can actually still play or not, with Leonard Fournette, with the offensive line, I know there's injuries to start the season. Obviously, Ryan Jensen's out for the entire season, but Donovan Smith was out. He may be back in now. He is back in now. So you'll get the full effect of what Tampa can be, and I think that's going to help Tom. Joe Mixon finally had himself a game that was noteworthy. Alvin Kamara has been injured, but he's coming back, and with Ramondre Stevenson showing that backfield's going to be 50-50. The only thing that's with him is he's going to be between the 20s, and then Damian Harris seems to be getting more of the 3rd and 1s, 3rd and 3s, in the red zone ones, so he's been getting, but both of them are getting 15 to 18 touches a game, especially with Mac Jones being out. So I got a 93 there. 83, Brandon Cooks. You got Brandon Cooks, who I just traded for Aaron Rodgers, which people are probably confused about, but there's more moves to come. I've got Keenan Allen, who once he's back, we know what Keenan Allen represents. We've got Gabe Davis, who has been a roller coaster ride to say the least. We got D-Hop, who's coming back, but D-Hop is not back. Garrett Wilson's actually been pretty solid all year, so I've got really Keenan Allen, Garrett Wilson, but they're not back, so it's an 83 until I get people. 95, Travis Kelsey, best tight end in football. And then defensively, I got Jacksonville's defense, which has been top 5 all year. I didn't play Jacksonville last week, but Jacksonville's been a top 5 defense this year. They've played very well. They played the Eagles tough. They blew out the Chargers. They shut out the Colts. They played a tough game with the Commanders, so they've been good all season. And then I got Justin Tucker, we know it's Justin Tucker. The only thing that's been hurting him so far is that the Ravens love to go for it on 4th. He would be probably top 5 if that's not the case. They've missed out on at least probably 12 points from Justin Tucker throughout each game. So that puts me at a 90.6. We got Camden, who's a 92 at quarterback. I got to respect Jared Goff at this point. He's been the 4th-ranked fantasy quarterback this year. Do I think it's going to continue like that? No. That's why he's not a 96 or a 97, because no one would ever say he's Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Herbert, Burrow, we know. But he has been great, so I have to give him that respect. We got 96 at running back. We got Jonathan Taylor. We got Aaron Jones. We've got, I'm blanking right now, Melvin Gordon off the bench. We've got Jamal Williams right now with DeAndre Swift out. So we know that team is still looking pretty scary. Looking pretty darn scary regardless. And there's one more I'm forgetting. Derrick Henry, duh. Sorry, I'm not looking at these rosters. I'm trying to go off my head. Then you got a 94. You got Deebo Samuel. You got Jared Judy. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown. You got Darnell Mooney. So his wide receiving core is one of the best in football. Darren Waller, 89. He's been kind of ticking down every single week because Darren Waller hasn't been producing like he should, but it is Darren Waller, so there is a little bit projection for the rest of the year in these numbers because it kind of has to be too. You can't just go strictly off of that. You can't just go strictly off of what happened last week or a couple weeks, but it does affect the ratings. And then defense 90, the 49ers defense might be the best in football. And then Graham Gano has been one of the best kickers in football. So that's at a 90. You got Timmy. Obviously, he has Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is probably there's top 3 MVP this year. So he has been great. Hold on, let me get to his team real quick. You've got Saquon Barkley. You've got Najee Harris, who is also... Najee's been solid. Saquon's been great, so we know what he has there. Obviously, Javante's out, so that hurts. But you got Christian Kirk. You have so that's out of 93. You got 88. You got Michael Pittman. You got Christian Kirk. You have Tyler Lockett. It's solid. It's not great, but it's not terrible. 94, Mark Andrews. That's where he's been all year. I think he's one tick under Travis Kelsey. He has a higher upside, but Travis Kelsey has a higher floor. So that's why I think he's a touch better. And then the defense, Timmy, regardless of, I understand he has the Giants this week, and he's been flexing defenses every week. So because of that, I said this before, his defense is at the still 85, 86 every week. I can't put it higher, can't put it lower, but he does have the best kicker in football right now. So, or fantasy-wise, the best kicker in football right now. So that puts him at an 87. Jared... So, and then that's an overall 91.6. Camden's at overall 92.2. I don't know why I'm just blanking on saying these things. We've got Jared, who has a 97 at quarterback because he has Josh Allen. We know what he is. We've got a consistent James Robinson. We've got Dalvin Cook. We've got Rashad Penny, who's looking interesting. So that's a 90. That's a 92 at running back. Once Dalvin Cook makes that jump, he can get up to a 93, 94 even. 91 at wide receiver. Stephon Diggs is making him that because Terry McLaurin had a bad week, but Terry McLaurin's been pretty solid as a mid-tier wide receiver 2 this year. Curtis Samuel out of flex. Curtis Samuel's actually been solid too. He's got Allen Robinson, who's been a letdown. Julio Jones has been, other than week 1, hasn't really played, so it's hard to know. So his crew's out of 91, and that's Stephon Diggs showing how great he is. 86 at tight end with Zach Ertz and George Kittle. I can't put him higher until Kittle shows me something. 87 at defense with the Rams, who have been solid, but not great. And then Ryan Suckup, who's been very good this year. So that puts Jared at a 90.6. We've got Joey, Patrick Mahomes. We know who Patrick Mahomes is. We know what Patrick Mahomes does. We've got Damian Harris, Austin Eckler, and then we also have James Conner. So Damian Harris is splitting, but he's also the red zone guy. We've got Austin Eckler, who had a huge week, but let's see if that continues. And then we got James Conner, who's been really touchdown or bust this year. So that's at a 92. 90 with his wide receiving core, Marquise Brown, DK Metcalf, Michael Thomas, and Amari Cooper. It's definitely very good. It's just, we need to see, Marquise Brown's been consistent. DK, can he get to being back to consistent with Geno? Or is Geno kind of on a Ryan Fitzpatrick wave before he falls? And then Michael Thomas, once we see him healthy again and see if he can stay consistent, then those can pretty much get to a 92, maybe even 93. Allen Lazard's been the security blanket for Aaron Rodgers, so Allen Lazard's still a solid flex option. Tight end 85. I'm not going to overreact to TJ Hawkinson putting up, I understand he's 4th ranked, but literally they had like a 3.8, 3.3, 2.7, or like a 7 because of the fact that he got a touchdown, and then a 31.9. And that's because there was no Swift, there was no Amon-Ra, there was no DJ Chark, so it's really just Josh Reynolds, Jamal Williams, and him against a terrible Seattle defense. We'll see if he can string together a few games, and if he can, then he can get up to that 88. But from what I've seen from TJ Hawkinson, I can't overreact to one game. Defense 91, he's got the Eagles and Cowboys defense. So whatever he wants to play that week, for the most part, they've been amazing. And then you've got Daniel Carlson, who's one of the best kickers in football. He's at a 91. And then we got Justin, 94 at QB right now. Oh, I think he has Herbert. No, he doesn't have Herbert. Oh, no, Kyler. Duh. So he has Kyler Murray, who's been very good. He just hasn't been great. And he has Trevor Lawrence, who's also been very good, just hasn't been great. So 94 at quarterback, I think, fits. He's got Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's got Tony Pollard. Right now, DeAndre Swift has been out a couple weeks. Maybe when he comes back, I can get up back to a 90. But right now, that is at an 86. Possibly can get to an 80 once he gets back. I just don't think Tony Pollard as that second guy for a little bit of time is going to be enough. You've got 95 at receiver. Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Mike Evans. That could arguably be a 96, honestly. That really could be a 96. It's at a 95. It's rivaling the best ones in the league, so that really could be. It's just the fact that Jalen Waddle's floor seems to be a little lower, and with Teddy Bridgewater, we'll see how things go. 85 at tight end. David Njoku had a big week 2 weeks ago. Last week was poised to have a solid week. We'll see if that can continue with Jacoby Brissett. Dawson Knox has been a letdown. And then a 92. He's got the best defense in football. He's got one of the best kickers in football. Joe. And that's over an overall 90.6. Joe. 97 at QB. Lamar. Joe. So, I understand Lamar had a bad week this week, so I bet you're probably off the bandwagon. If you want to give him up, you can, because we know how much you think he's going to not be in the league in 2 years because he's not good enough, right? He's not a good quarterback. He's barely a good fantasy quarterback. I don't like you, Joe. Anyways, so 97 at QB, 92 at running back. He doesn't have any world beaters, like the best running back in football or the second best, but he has he had five. Now he has just four really consistent backs. You have J.K. Dobbins, who I think is going to show week in and week out that he's going to be a little bit better. You got Miles Sanders, who's been very consistent this year. You got Devin Singletary, who's been solid, and then you got David Montgomery / Khalil Herbert, whoever plays. It's been great. Kyle Pitts is not spotted at practice. It's 3 days in a row. He's likely to miss Sunday. Ooh, okay. 97 on wide receiver. You got Cooper Kupp. You got A.J. Brown. You got CeeDee Lamb. It's the best trio in the league. You've got the number one receiving core, Joe. For this week, you've got the number one receiving core. I know you've been on me for getting to that, and your team has proved it. And Justin Jefferson and Devontae have been great, but they haven't been as great as I expected, so they're still at a 96, as I said, but you're at a 97. You got Tyler Higbee. He's been an 88. He's going to be consistent. He's the only other option that Matt Stafford actually has a little bit of trust. And then 88 defense, the Broncos and Brandon McManus. The Broncos defense has been very good. McManus has been mediocre. Not mediocre, but average. Last but not least, so you're at a 92.4. Second to last, we've got Tyler. 95 at QB. Justin Herbert's been great. He has a chance to get up to that 96, 97 range. He just hasn't been there yet. With Zeke being more consistent, Dameon Pierce being very good, and Christian McCaffrey getting a little bit back to Christian McCaffrey. He's been consistent all year. That group's a 90. And the reason why it's a 90, you could probably argue it could be a little bit better. It's Christian McCaffrey's fine. Can he get to that next level that makes his team fake? Can Ezekiel Elliott get to being a consistent 10 to 12 instead of a consistent 7 to 9? And then there's Dameon Pierce. He had a huge run last week. He had a good game the week before. Can this continue? It's been 2 games. Let's not overreact to 3 games makes it a trend, and then that will get you a little higher. 93 at receiver, you have Tyreek Hill, Courtland Sutton, as I've already talked about, and Devontae Smith. You've got a boomer bust guy who is a great flex option. You got Courtland Sutton, who's been a wide receiver 2. You've got Tyreek Hill, who's been a very good wide receiver 1. That's literally how you want to play a fantasy team. That's how you want to play a fantasy team. 89 at tight end, you got Dallas Goedert. He's been one of the most consistent tight ends in football. He hasn't been really high, but he's been at 7 to 10 points every single week. And then you got an 86 because you don't have Harrison Butker yet. You have Katie York, and the Saints defense has been at best. And then last but not least, now we got Ira. Joe Burrow, 95. He's back to where he needs to be. Nick Chubb, Jeff Wilson, Breece Hall, 93 core. He's got a comparable to the Ramondre Stevenson, Joe Mixon, Alvin Kamara for what they've produced so far. That's on par with the Saquon Barkley, Najee Harris. Like, that's where they're on par with that, especially because Jeff Wilson's been a consistent about 10 to 13. Nick Chubb has been the best running back in football. And then you've got Breece Hall, who is showing to be a little bit more consistent. Again, we'll see how he goes. You've got his receiving core to 90. You've got 2 wide receiver 2s. You don't have a wide receiver 1, so you got 2 very good wide receiver 2s, which works because you have T. Higgins, you have Mike Williams. Kyle Pitts is going to be out for this week, but Kyle Pitts is still a solid. He has such upside that he's at an 88 because I couldn't really put him higher than what Tyler Higbee's been doing this year. But moving forward, the upside is so high that you have to put it there. And then with the Buccaneers defense, I said, even with a -1 last week, they're still ranked number 4. And then you got Matt Gay, who's been a pretty solid kicker all year. That's at a 90. So Tyler was a 90.6. I was a 91.2. I did terrible saying the ratings at the end as I was going through. So, but what I did, so let me just read these. Austin's a 90.6. I'm a 90.6. Camden's a 92.2. Timmy's a 91.6. Jared's a 90.6. Joey's a 91. Justin's a 90.6. Joe's a 92.4. Hi. How you doing?
How you doing?
I'm good. How bad was the bath?
It was fucking cold.
I'm sorry.
You should have boiled some water.
I was not going to boil some water. Do you want to say hi?
No.
Okay. What are you doing? You still looking for food?
Yeah.
Okay. Where the hell was I? Oh, yeah. Joe 92.4, Tyler 90.6, Ira 91.2. What? 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 Why are you just staring at what? So anyways, that would put Joe at 1, Camden at 2, and go on. But Camden's 1 and 3. Rated standings are now going to matter going forward. So what I did was, if you're above 500, it's going to be a point. You're going to get plus 0.8. So if you are showing that you have a winning record going forward, and we'll see as we go forward, it will probably skew a little bit. If you're like 3 games above 500, maybe 1.2 or something. We'll see as it goes forward. But if you are above 500, you are plus 0.8 in your overall points. If you aren't, if you're 2 and 2, if you're 500, then you are 0. You don't change anything. You are a 500 team. If you're below 500, you're minus 0.8. And moving forward, that will change too. So if you're like, they're 1 and 3, so you have to be 2 games under. You have to be 2 games under, regardless if you're going to be below 500. But say a team is 3 and 9 compared to a team that's 5 and 6, or that'd be 5 and 7. You can't. They're obviously not the same team. So we'll see going forward how those points change. But so number 1 is Joe. He has a 92.4 on paper. He's 2 and 2, so that's plus nothing. So he's a 92.4 overall. Joey Wade is number 2. He's a 91.0, but he has a 3-1 record that puts him up plus 0.8. So he's at a 91.8. Timmy's 91.6, record 2 and 2. 0 is his plus minus, obviously, so he has a 91.6. Justin's 90.6, he's 3 and 1, so that's plus 0.8. That's a 91.4 at 4. Tyler's the same exact scenario. What I did for the tiebreaker was I went to points, and Justin has about 22, 25 more points than Tyler, so that's why he got the 4 and Tyler's at 5. It was fine. You could look for food. You were just staring directly at me. Anyways, so Camden, who has the second best roster on paper at 92.2, but he is 1 and 3, so that minus him 0.8, so he's at 91.4. He's at the same as Justin and Tyler, but obviously that record puts him beneath at number 6. Ira's a 91.2. He is 2 and 2. that record is, so that puts him 0. That's at a 91.2. Jared, 90.6, 2-2, 0, so he's still at a 90.6. Me and Austin are both a 90.6. Austin's number 9, I'm 10. We're both 1-3, minus 0.8, 89.8, 89.8. He has more points than me. So it goes Joe at 1, Joey at 2. What? Timmy at 3, Justin at 4, Tyler 5, Camden 6, Ira 7, Jared 8, Austin 9, me at 10. And moving forward, this is how I'm going to do it. We're going to have the points of the standings, because before the standings weren't really as important, but now they are. So going into this week, we've got big games all across the board. We got me against Joey. I saw an undefeated team last week in 3-0, and now I'm seeing a 3-1 team. Brutal. I'm seeing the number 2 team. I'm seeing the number 2 team, and I saw the number 2 team last week, back-to-back weeks. Brutal. Let's see if we can get to it. If we can get, I said before the season, by the time DeAndre Hopkins is back, if I can be 3-3, I'm in a beautiful position, and I have a chance now with a win last week to go to get to 3-3. We've got 2-2 teams. We got Ira versus Timmy. That they're projected to Timmy's projected to win by 0.4 right now. So that's going to be a very interesting game. With the Broncos defense and McManus, I can see this now. Joe's projected now to win by 15, but obviously we have to see it play out. He's 2-2. He's playing 3-1 Tyler. We've got 3-1 Justin playing 2-2 Jared. Jared's projected to win as of right now, but we'll see the moves moving forward. I think Justin needs to make a couple switches, but so moving forward, we'll see what that is. And then we've got the 1-3 I Like It Raw Camden Dennis's team, and then we got the 1-3 Dark Knights. Austin has Russell Wilson, and he's now projected to lose by 20 because Russell Wilson doesn't know how to play football. The loser of that game, if you get to 1-4, it's going to be terribly tough to come back, because that means you've got to pretty much go like 6-2, 7-1 throughout. We've got a lot of changes can be made this week. You're going to have a lot of teams bouncing, and it's going to be a fun week. It's going to be a very fun week. So that's the review. Good luck to everybody. Again, sorry it's late. There you have it.